Ever since I was a kid, I've wanted to own a fire alarm. And when I was younger, I thought it'd be funny to set it up as like a light switch or something like that and have it just do something electrical. But obviously I did not have the capabilities to wire any of that, so whatever. This year, I'm helping my parents out with a Halloween project, and I am making I'm gonna dress up as a firefighter, and they're gonna pull a fire alarm, and it's gonna set off a bell and stuff like that, and that's how I'm gonna give kids candy for trick-or-treating. When I was searching for this fire alarm, the first thing I searched for is fire alarm, and I learned that the things that you pull are not actually called fire alarms, they're called fire pull stations. And so I searched all over the internet for fire pull stations. I had some specific requirements. I wanted a fire pull station that was made of metal, which was one of the things, because I think they just feel hardier and better. And second of all, I wanted one that was dual action. So instead of just pushing a button or just pulling something down, I wanted one that you had to do two things. So either push and pull or lift and push or something along the lines of that, just because I thought it had more pizzazz to it. After searching all over the place, a lot of them are very expensive. It's expensive to purchase high quality fire pull stations. And so that led my trip down to the used market. And I searched for a while and ended up finding something on eBay. And this is exactly what I found. So this is not any normal fire pull station, obviously. I mean, first of all, you can see that it is enormous. Usually they're, just about that big. And so this is a really big fire pull station. And the reason it jumped out to me is because the eBay listing said explosion proof or explosive proof. I can't remember the exact terminology, but I saw that and I thought, oh my God, that's the coolest thing ever. I need to have it. My budget for a fire pull station was like 20 bucks. That's kind of what I was hoping I was gonna spend. This was $100. So this was outside the budget, but it was too cool to pass up. So what does it do? Well, it would, theoretically speaking, turn on a fire alarm. This one doesn't have fire written on it. And so I don't think it was used as a fire alarm. I think it was probably in a hazmat situation, which was also why it's yellow. But obviously what we're here for is the fact that this thing is explosion proof. Oh my God, that's so cool. What does that mean? I don't know, we're gonna learn together. So first of all, let me just pull it because it is an extremely satisfying thing to pull. I'm gonna keep the microphone right up next to this and we're gonna take a peek. First of all, that action is so good. Very good click. And then when you go to pull it, oh my God, that is so satisfying. All right, so I need to grab the key to reset this, of course. Now that I have this key here, I don't know why they need a key to be reset. I assume so they know which fire alarm was pulled, but I don't exactly know the answer to that question, so I'll look that up too. I have yet to open this, so I don't actually know. I've opened this part before to reset it. And the first thing that we can see is that this is just a chamber on the top. It's completely separate from the rest of the hardware. And all it does is activate this button down here. We can see this. So when you pull this lever, when I push and then pull that arm would flick that button down a little bit. You can hear it just barely click. Let me grab the microphone again. It just barely clicks in there. And then that's what actually turns on the alarm, is just a single click of that. That's what keeps that hole right there, if I come in through here, ends up sitting with that little metal tube inside of it, so it can't be pushed back from this activated position, I'll call it. So that's interesting. Next here, let me undo this again. Should have left the key in it, whatever. So this is kind of an entire separate piece to it, and then this is the explosive proof part. This is all high quality stuff. None of this, I think there's a high factor of safety on every part of this system. So we have a standard lock here, nothing the lock picking lawyer could not handle. And that lock just slides into this piece of bent sheet metal. This looks like it was stamped and bent. They're probably making these at quite the rate. These are made, we're in Beverly, Massachusetts, and this is made by Signal Communications Corporation in Woburn, Massachusetts, which I drive by to go to my parents' house. So I might contact them and see if we can set up some sort of, I don't know, interview or tour of their manufacturing facility, just because I think it's very interesting. All right, so that's that piece that kind of just sits on top. Nothing to it that much. The only interesting thing of note is that we're using a small spring to activate the actual top lever. That's this spring right here. And then there's these little just pieces of steel, and that's what is providing the spring pressure for the bottom latch. So the top latch gets activated like that, up against that spring, and then the bottom latch moves these two pieces of steel up and out. So you can see how they pop out. There's a little cam there, and then it clicks into place. And it feels like there's still a little bit of pressure at its at its activated state. Anyways, this is what we're actually here for. So this is the cool part. Serious hardware holding this all together. So let me grab a more serious. How do you fit? Perfectly. Oh, these screws are a little loose already. I guess that's not particularly surprising, as this was probably removed from a facility when they took all the wiring out. There was an O-ring. That's cool to note. There was an O-ring on that screw. So these are protected from pressure, which is pretty interesting. Again, all of these are coming out with no problem. I'd assume they'd be torqued down a little harder. This one still has its O-ring mostly intact. O-ring intact. Yep. Well, mostly intact. I mean, they're basically disintegrated by now. So that's the hardware out of there. Let's peel this off. Wow. That's pretty cool. Oh my God. All right. So we have a little grounding right there. That's that green screw. And the thickness of this is incredible. It's made of aluminum. It's not that heavy, all things considered. If I grab a scale here, we can just quickly see what this weighs, just out of curiosity. This weighs 2 pounds, 10 ounces, or for our metric enjoyers, that is just over a kilogram, 1.2 kilograms, is almost 500 grams, half kilogram, and then just under 1 pound. So this looks like a very simple setup. I know that from some very basic research, this can be run just as kind of just a normal switch. When I was looking online, it said that they you could run like, I don't know what the fire code says you need to do, so if I'm wrong here, let me know in the comments. But this looks like it can be run off 28 volts or just hooked into wall power. By that I mean in America that's 120 volts. But it all looks fairly simple. Nothing too surprising here. Just a normal switch. I don't even see a board here. I think this is just a switch. There's nothing actually happening in here. It looks like maybe it's cast into shape, but there's definitely, this is machined in some way. You can see the basics of machining marks left over, and obviously they need to drill out these holes and tap these interior holes. The only thing I'll note, which is interesting, is that we have these screws in the top that are acting as a little riser post, because if we look at it here, this piece of metal right here is actually being used as a spring to apply pressure on this pin right there. So if I activate it in the light, you can see here, see if I can get a little bit better light in that. You can see that panel bending up in there. Teflon tape looks so delicious, I just want to eat it. That's a PFAS joke for anyone at home. Just some basics on this so you guys have perspective. The thickness of these walls is just under 15 centimeters, just under 0.6 inches. So that's a fairly thick wall. Obviously this is also O-ringed. I'm not going to bother taking that O-ring out right now. It looks like the depth here is a little less than the thickness of the side. So that is 51 millimeters. And then to the bottom is 59. So not quite as thick as the walls. So this brings us to some larger questions behind this that I am hoping to answer. First of all, why would you ever need a explosive proof fire pole station? In my opinion, if you have a problem in a facility that could destroy a fire alarm, who has survived to pull that fire alarm or that hazmat alarm or whatever the alarm is in that case? That's one of my questions. I'm wondering who is alive to pull a fire alarm and have that make a difference in a situation. Obviously, this looks like it is fairly contained from the environment. Most of the stuff here is O-ringed. I'm sure the manufacturer has a standard that they use for how to attach the usual conduit in there, because obviously I would see that as a weak link in this whole system. I mean, I imagine I don't even know if there's explosive rated conduit. Obviously, this is an extremely stout mechanism, this is an extremely stout mechanism and an extremely stout box that everything lives in. It's completely separated from the environment. Everything is O-ringed. I'm curious what type of pressure this could be under and have no effect. Something a friend of mine mentioned, which I will mention to you now, is that he said, and this isn't just a friend, he's an electrical engineer, but he mentioned that maybe it's to keep an explosion in. And by that, you know, if you were in a hazardous environment with flammable vapors or something like that, maybe there's a reason for you to want to make sure that if a wire shorts or something goes wrong on the switch, if something goes wrong in here, it will not affect anything in the environment. I don't, disagree with that mindset. I think it's possible. I would then ask why the walls are 1/2 inch thick. It seems a little overkill to me, especially if it's just a normal, US 120 volt, system. In my case, I'm going to run it off 28 volts DC, and so that's even more not going to matter. But I'm very interested. I think I would love to have a meeting with the manufacturer and just learn more about this. I am not a firefighter. I am not a security and fire system installation expert, and so I have no idea what's going on here. But this is such an unbelievably cool item as a thing, as a trinket, that I could not resist in spending $100 on it on eBay. So that's kind of the moral of the story here. I'm gonna set up the electrical systems for this. I'm not going to bother replacing the O-rings because I know for a fact that I do not have the right size O-rings on me. And I'm missing 2 screws. Oh, those are the screws from back there, very good. Gonna go crazy. But what an interesting system, and what I have no idea what this could be used for. Well, obviously it's used for calling an alarm when you have a situation that you need to call one for. But to make it explosive proof, I mean, I don't know the last time you guys went and looked at a fire alarm, but they are not particularly, or fire pull station by that, they're not like immensely fragile. I know they sell plastic versions. That's what I was trying to avoid when I was searching for one, because I think the plastic versions are way less cool. Would one of those plastic versions survive? Wow, that is quickly tightening. Would one of those plastic versions survive an explosion? Maybe. Probably not. But at the same time, I gotta imagine these systems are fail-safe where there's any problem in the alarm, whether that is, a normal fire pull station. If for whatever reason you cut the cable on the back of a fire pull station, that the alarm would just go off. That's what seems safe in my mind. If I were engineering it, that's how I'd do it. But I don't know. So I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts of what type of environment this could sit in. I would love to reach out, and I plan to reach out to the Signal Communications Corporation in Woburn. It says here, just for your guys' knowledge, this is a fire alarm box for hazardous locations class 1 through 3 and groups B through G, B, C, D, E, F, G. So I don't know what this was totally used for. I am glad I own it. I have no idea what the going rate on one of these new is. I have to imagine at least a few $100s if you were to ask me for my opinion on that. But what a cool item. We will definitely set this up as a light switch or something. I don't obviously want to have anyone ever be confused about a hazardous situation and pull this expecting the fire alarm to go off. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick video. We might have a video coming out about this again if I can contact the corporation. It would be a really cool thing to do a tour of the facility and see how they make these if they'll let us. We have the LS7 video coming out shortly. We're about to pull that engine and a bunch of other really cool stuff going on. So I welcome you to the new GridForge channel, replacing the Motive Engineering YouTube channel, and I hope you guys have a good weekend. Anyways, talk to you later. Have a good one. See ya.